Thank you. All right. So anyway, the question was, how do I complete week 1, assignment 1? So I'm going to share my screen so we can have a look at this together. All right. So within this, within the assignment 1, so by Wednesday, you're going to download this attachment or read through this attachment, however you want to do it, and understanding correlation. So correlations are a relationship between two variables, okay? So for example, if I wanted to examine the correlation or a relationship between ice cream sales and sunny days, okay? First of all, we expect those to be in some kind of relationship. Like if we have more sunny days, what will we expect ice cream sales to be? Up, right? We would expect them to be increasing, okay? So that's kind of what this is looking at correlations. Now I'm gonna cover correlations here probably, actually, I don't have it lined up for this lesson, but there are a couple other sources out there. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to get to correlations today. But maybe I will spend some time. But correlations is just a relationship, okay? So for example, what about sunny days and people who chew bubble gum? Do we think that there would be any kind of correlation? Probably not, right? Because they're just two different ideas. And then maybe there is a relationship, but we don't know that. We don't have any reason to think either logically or through any kind of research to assume that that would be the case. So for example, if you look at item 1, a study of married couples showed that the longer that they have been married, the more similar their opinions on social and political issues were. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to kind of hypothesize yourself and say, is there a relationship here? So what are our two variables in here? What do you think?
Would it be
marriage, and then it would be how similar the social and political issue, the opinions on social and political issues are.
Right. So length of marriage versus related to similarity in opinions. Okay. So that's what we're thinking is going to happen. So what we're doing here is just kind of explaining, what we expect to happen, why it might be happening. And is there a confounding variable? Is there something in there that we're not taking into account? Like, for example, sunny days and ice cream sales, right? That's a very specific thing. Do you think it has anything to do with the sun?
It might have something to do with it being cloudy. Could have something to do with the sun.
Okay. We have lots of sunny days in the winter. Does that make, do you think ice cream sales increase then?
I think the correlation is more of like a warm sunny day.
Right. So there might be heat involved, right? So that would be a variable that we didn't really take into account. Okay. So anyway, that kind of go through that and just give, if you only have one explanation, that's good, but try and get two explanations as to why these might be related, and whether or not that this is a positive or negative. Now, again, I'm not going to go over this because many of you have had research study. If you had general psychology, they should have covered correlations in there. If not, I do have some resources available. But again, just as a refresher, positive correlation is one where both variables increase. So for example, if we want to examine the frequency of smoking pot versus increase or decrease GPA. So if we see an increase of smoking pot, what will we expect GPA for a college student to do? Probably drop, right? So probably drop. So is that a positive or is that a negative correlation?
It's a negative correlation because it's going down.
Right. They're going away from each other. Okay. So if we say, for example, now let's kind of go along with the pot smoking. So pot smoking and appetite, what will we expect that to happen?
Increase.
Yeah. So is that a positive or negative correlation?
It's a positive correlation.
Positive, right? Because they're both moving in the same direction, right? And just similarly, if we see a decrease in pot smoking and a decrease in appetite, that's still a positive correlation, even though they're both decreasing. Okay, it's just whatever they're moving. So that's just a quick little recap, and that's really all this assignment is just to kind of start getting those creative thoughts going again, as far as what we're doing and what we're looking at with relationships, because that's going to come up, especially when we start talking about social norms and cultural differences with developmental psychology. Okay, any questions on that?
Quick question.
Yeah.
Now for that, obviously we won't really have any references for that one, right?
Yeah, you could use your book. You should use your book for just about every assignment. So, you can say, according to, was it Kali that yeah, whatever book whatever the author is, according to so-and-so, the negative correlation is this. And then you've kind of done your part. Now we know that, where you got that information. Or if you use a word like confounding variable, like that might be something to use in there. You're going to be getting that from, what is a confounding variable? You're going to get that from somewhere, and you can cite that. And once you cite that, then you pretty much can use that term again without bumping into any kind of trouble. So I just want to see that where you can pull this information from, and that you can cite it properly and answer these questions based on the sources you have available. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm a little worried because I think my book is coming tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
But I'll figure that out. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, and listen, folks, we are all adults here. Okay, I'm not a high school teacher, nor would I ever want to be. I work with adults to help them meet their goals, and I know, trust me, I've been where you are. I know that books are an issue. I know that I'm not your only class. I know you're very, very busy. So trust me. I mean, you stay in communication with me, and we'll work something out. The first 2 weeks are generally pretty rough, and then we start getting into the swing of things, and it'll level out. So if you have any questions, or if you have any concerns, or if something's going on that you just can't get to what you need to do or meet your deadline, please let me know, and we'll figure it out. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Any other questions on the assignment before we move on? Oh, and just to go back to the instructions of the assignment, you'll be submitting this. So this is the only day that we're going to be doing this. Submitting this to, so if you look down here, oops, let me go back down here. So if you look down here, and some of you have already done this, so good for you. You're going to start a new thread. Okay. So you start a new thread, and you enter your name, information, whatever title you want there. Just be civil about it. And then you can just maybe type a little, here's my assignment. And then you're going to add attachment. And that's where you're going to add your document. And this is I wanted to do it this way because this is a great way to collaborate on everybody else's documents or everybody else's assignment. So this will give you an idea of how APA papers are set up if somebody did that, or if you didn't get that, some of the other students might be able to give you feedback on how to set up like a hanging indent, for example, or something like that. So anyway, I only did it for this week. I think we have another week where I have presentations or I think infographics. I think we have an infographic assignment that we can all view each other's work. So I think that's later on, maybe a couple of weeks down the road. But anyway,
Dr. McCoon,
go ahead.
On the syllabus, it says that the assignment is due on Saturday, but it is due today?
Yeah. If you need a little more time, again, I can be flexible this week. If you need a little bit more time, Thursday, Friday, that's fine. But the rest of the assignments are going to be due on Saturday. Okay. With the exception of the infographic, and I'll have to look up to see what week that is. I can't just pull them up. I have to kind of go through and see which individually, which assignments are which. So, but outside of that, the rest of them are just going to be Dropbox. Okay. All right.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
About the videos, old videos. I watched them yesterday, and I wanted to watch today's subject, and I couldn't find all the weeks.
Mhm.
Like every week, like first week 1, 1, 1, 2, it
Mhm.
goes that way, but I couldn't find them properly.
Okay, so I rearranged this last night, and I meant to send an email, but I figured I was talking to everybody anyway. So I rearranged these classes. So, oh, did I get I didn't, where's the link? Oh, the link's down there. Okay, I'm gonna actually move this link to the very, very top. So it's a little bit more visible to all of you. Okay, so how I set this up is I have all the previous class videos in here. So some of them there are gaps in them because either I didn't have the video or something happened to the video. But anyway, there are some gaps in there. So don't worry about that. These are just kind of for your references. I'm going to be making videos from every class that we're doing from here on out, which is going to be a little bit more relevant. But if you go to click on this link, this is going to take you to our class. Okay. So all of these ones obviously were previous ones, but for the new ones, I'm going to have the newer ones on top. So you can see that we had our first day when I went over the course syllabus and course expectations. That's going to be listed here. And then for this one, we're probably gonna have 2 videos from this class because I'm gonna go over some more class related stuff. And then I'm just gonna publish this one, and then I'm gonna go through, hopefully we'll have time. I've got some things I wanted to go through with the lecture from chapter 1. So anyway, this is probably going to be your best source, is going to the newer ones, okay? Because I don't have the older ones labeled. All right. And it's best if you subscribe to that channel, because it'll alert you. It'll tell you that there's a new video that I put in to that channel at least. All right. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, I think we're getting close to getting everybody's revel. Go ahead.
From the PackBack, I'm confused between. There's like for this week, do we need to answer your question, or we need to make a new question?
I'm going to leave it up to you. So here's what we're going to be doing with the questions. Okay. So when you ask a new question, so for week 1 and week 1 only, I put a question in there to start off the community. Okay. Because I know we're going to have people coming and going, and we're probably going to be adding and dropping some people next week. It always happens. So for that reason, I don't put a whole lot of emphasis on trying to get your 1 question and 2 answers in this week. So just for this week and this week only, you can just ask, or I'm sorry, you can answer my question. Or if you want, you can follow the directions and see how that goes for you, because there is going to be a little bit of a learning curve for this. So for example, if you went in to ask a question, all right, there are a couple things that happen here. Is you have the topic, the question that you're asking, you have a description of how you want to ask that, and then you're going to have to cite your source. Okay. For these 3 things, if you get all 3 things of these filled out and you get quality points, enough quality points on them, then you're good to go. Okay. Let's see. So for example, how has this class changed your life for the positive? All right. So that gives me a great, now you can add your description, and it gives me an idea of what I need to do. Okay. And I'll just say most students who take this course find it interesting. All right. So if you look off to the side there, you can all see my PackBack here, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Just making sure, because sometimes I switch screens and it doesn't go with me. All right. So now what you see off to the side here is a curiosity. Okay. So this curiosity is where you're really going to be getting your points. So what it's telling me is to keep writing. I need a little bit more. Add more detailed description. Okay, so get a little bit more detailed about it. This has been a very good class, and I learned a lot and wish to pass that on to students. Okay, see where it gives me. So it's still telling me I need a little bit. Okay, so it changed a little bit there. You see where the curiosity changed? So add a little bit more, it's saying, but I did give more detail. So credibility does not have a source. So if what I can do to fix that is Cali 2020. Development of lifespan. I don't know if that's our book title or not. Okay. So once I enter that, my credibility should go up. So we're good with that. So all you're really trying to do is add some stuff until these start looking better. So your curiosity, it says you're good to go. You get a green check mark on there. You get a green check mark on there, and then you submit your post. Okay. That's for your initial post. You should be citing each one of your initial posts to make sure that you're getting credit for that. Okay. Now, when you answer that, first of all, is there any questions or concerns with the ask a new question?
The PackBack, I don't have it, and it says we're supposed to have an email. I don't see the email.
Okay. So did you check your junk mail?
Oh, no.
Okay, check your junk mail for help at packback.co. And it should have gone out a week before classes started. And if it's like your junk mail, my junk mail empties every 2 weeks. So I don't, you may have it. You may still have it. So anyway, check your junk mail. If you don't have it, email that I have the directions in that news and announcements on how to set up and get your course.
Mhm.
Okay. Sound good?
Yes.
All right.
I have a question concerning asking question.
Mhm.
Do you say for every question we must cite our sources?
Anytime you state a fact, you should cite a source. So, like for example, we said a correlation is a relationship between two variables. Okay, that is not your words. That is something that you probably got from the textbook or some other source, and that's what you want to cite. Okay, and so any kind of fact that you state, where did you get that fact from? So, for example, I think I used the example. It's flooding in Harrisburg right now. Okay. Many of you know that that's happening right now because you're in Harrisburg and that's occurring. However, if you weren't in Harrisburg, like if I were talking to my students here in West Virginia and I were to tell them it's flooding in Harrisburg, they may or may not believe me because first of all, I didn't do what?
Because you're in
Cite
Florida?
a source.
I didn't qualify it, right? I could have just pulled that out of my head and made things up, which hopefully they know I don't do. But in order to qualify that, I would say, according to WNEP broadcast, there's severe flooding occurring in Harrisburg right now. Now I've qualified my source. So I stated a fact based on another credible source. And that's what you're really wanting to do. So yeah, at least once an assignment, you should have at least your textbook or, the more sources you have, the better. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a.
Go ahead.
Do we need to do in-text citations for these posts?
Yeah, anytime you do, if you're citing a source, yeah, in-text citations would be needed. And that's just basically, you can either say according to blah, 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 and then put the year. I'll tell you what, let me do this. Let me pull up the Course content. Let's see, APA example. And of course, I've got, if you look under course content, I got a lot of great resources here on, selecting a credible source, writing an abstract. We're not going to be doing a whole lot of abstract. I don't think we're doing any abstracts this class, so we don't have to worry about that. APA example, okay. So let me zoom in so it's a little bit more readable here. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and show you what a reference page looks like. Okay. So for your reference pages, you can see this is a really long one. Don't get overwhelmed. You're only going to have 1, 2, maybe 3 of these at a time. So your reference page is going to look very similar to this. You're going to have your title in the header. You're going to have your page number here off to the upper right in the header. And then right in the center at the top line, you're going to have references. Okay. After your references, you'll have your your author, last name, first initial, middle initial, and then you'll have the date of the publication. Okay. After the date of the publication, you'll have the title of the journal article or the title of your book or even the section of the book that you're using. And then here you'll either have the publication or the actual book itself. What pages, what volume that was, and what pages you got that from. Sometimes you'll have a DOI number. That's something that might be provided automatically if you're pulling that from a journal article and you do a citation. I don't know exactly how that's generated, but it's just a quicker way to index these articles in case somebody was actually fact checking you. Okay, so that's how this looks. One point to note here is that all of your references are going to be arranged alphabetically according to the last name of the first artist or author. I keep saying artist. I apologize. So also take a note here that this is a hanging indent. You'll hear me refer to hanging indents. This is a reverse indent because a normal indent would be here, your text would be out to here with your first line indented. Okay. But this is an opposite. This is called a hanging indent. And I have a video in the content, in the course content that shows you how to set up your Word or Google Doc or whatever you need to do these indents. Okay. So take note, this is all double spaced. There's no space between these references. Okay. So this is basically how your reference page is going to look with much fewer, at least for this class, much fewer references. Okay. Does that help? Thumbs up. We good? All right. So with the references, if you want to start doing, there are a couple ways you can get your references. You can go back to Purdue Al, which is the link is right here, and follow that, and it'll tell you how to set up your references. And another way you can do that is look up a citation generator. And it's your choice what you want to use. I use Citation Machine, but I think it starts doing a lot of pop-up ads, so I'm not going to do that with you. So Citation Generator, you just type in Google, and it's going to give you like Grammarly, I don't know if that one, free bibliography generator. So it gives you MLA, APA, Chicago. So you're going to want APA. That's the one that you're going to be using. So scribber.com, I guess that's another one. Citation Machine is the one I use. It used to be really good, but now it's got a bunch of pop-up ads which annoy me. I think you can pay for it, but I don't have any interest in doing that. So anyway, it's up to you however you want to get your generate or get your APA style references generated. Okay. All right. Any questions?
Another simple question. For the PackBack, there's, I guess they're just graded off of, on the right-hand side when it gives you the feedback on how that's how it's graded.
Yep, that is exactly. So I have the bar set a little. I'm not going to say low. I mean, you still have to get substantial descriptions in there. Make sure your questions are open-ended, and that's a good guide off to the right to let you know what you need and what you need to do a little bit more. So the higher the score, so if you meet that threshold for 35 points, then you'll get all 10 points if you ask your 2 questions. And those are, so your initial question is worth 6 points. Your responses are worth 2 each if they're substantial. So if you say you didn't cite your reference, you might get 5 out of those 6 points. And then you got your other 4 points for asking those other 2 questions. You're going to get 9 out of 10 points for that week for that assignment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And for this week, you'll know what, it'll tell you what your score, your curiosity score is. And many of you, you're just answering my question. So you're probably not going to see what your full score would look like. However, again, it's week 1. I'm going to be very lenient on that. And if you post something on there, you'll be good to go, and you'll have your full 10 points for this week. Okay.
I want to ask another thing. When we answer the question, do we need to cite something for our like demonstrate our answer?
When you answer the question,
Yeah.
you can. I don't require that because you may have it may be asking your own personal experience or something like that. So that's why I stopped. I used to have students cite their source with answering their question. Again, if you're stating a fact, you'll want to cite that source. But if somebody asks you, how has psychology changed your life? That's kind of a personal question. So that is something you can probably answer.
Yeah, that's
without
why I
citing your
want to
source.
ask.
Yeah. Good
Mm.
question. Okay, good. All right. Anything else? I got a couple questions in the chat room. So let me go through and see what I got here before we move on. Okay, how do I purchase the physical book? Did I answer that question for you? Afalashade, did I answer that question? How do I purchase the physical book?
No.
Okay, you can either get the ISBN and either go out on Amazon or go to the bookstore. They can help you make sure that you have the right edition. But yeah, there are a couple ways you can go through that. I don't have. I mean, does anybody have any suggestions for Afalashade?
I got from bookstore.
Okay,
So she
bookstore.
wants to write it too.
Anybody get it from somewhere else?
I ordered it off of Amazon, but if you copy the number and put it into a Google search, you might be able to find one for cheaper, or sometimes there are like open resource things that might have it possibly.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
Good.
guys.
All right, so let's see. I have experience with APA, but I'm confused about the assignment. What do we need references for this? What do we need references for this assignment? Okay. The reason why we need references for the assignment is just, first of all, practice doing references. So yeah, that's my only reason. I'm sure many of you are probably just used to answering questions as they're asked, but it's good. Many of you are going to be going to the nursing field or social services or psychology or whatever it may be. We have to speak intelligently, and the only way we speak intelligently is by qualifying our answers with credible sources. So it's good to really get in the practice of doing this. It's very necessary. So anyway, that's why we need to do references. Okay, are you going to be going over the assignment today? I did that. Okay, on the syllabus it states the assignment isn't due until Saturday. Disregard for this week. I mean, technically it is due by Saturday, but yeah, I set it up just so we can get practice and seeing what it looks like and giving each other feedback. Okay, so point out lawyers thinking the same thing. We'll be putting the reference page for this assignment. Do we need reference? You can use your book. You can use any credible source, whatever you want for this week's assignment. I've always used, okay. Amazon, bookshelf, Amazon, okay. If we decide to ask a question this week, can it be anything as long as it relates to the class or something more specific? Good question. All right, so for our weekly PackBack, it should pertain, it needs to pertain to whatever our topic is this week. So next week is going to be prenatal. And we're going to talk about prenatal. So ask a question about that. You can get your question from a book. So maybe you read through the book and you thought that there was a really interesting topic on germination or something like that, and you want to ask a question about, you know, what are some serious or negative impacts to the germination period if the woman is drinking or smoking or something, if the mother is drinking or smoking. So that, you know, that could be an example of a question you ask, and then you put the description of where you found that in the book, and then of course cite the book, and really you'll get your points, your full points that way. Okay, does that make sense? All right, anything else? All right, I did want to make mention really quick that if for whatever reason something comes up in either in the old class, or it might be something that's in the classes that we're covering here that mentions group work, please disregard. All right. So I used to do group work, and it happened great with face-to-face classes. It tends to be a disaster with online classes. So I don't do it anymore, at least not with online or hybrid or remote classes. So we've moved away from that, and we're just doing the movie reviews and doing the article reviews instead. Okay. All right.
I'm so sorry if I'll be taking you back. Just a quick question.
Sure.
I'm trying to log into PackBack now, and it's telling me to enter access code or coupon.
It's listed under like
Excuse me.
on.
First, you can skip that one. I just didn't want to interrupt you, Leanna. I'm sorry.
It can, you,
Oh, it's okay. I just popped onto D2L, and it was right there in like the intro part, underneath the PackBack section. So I just copied and pasted it, and it worked.
All right, thank you.
all right.
I tried that one, it didn't work, and I just skipped that one after then, just being
Yeah.
okay. I don't know.
If you have any issues with PackBack whatsoever, call that number or contact them on that helpline. They are super fast to get back to you. That's why I like working with them, because they're great customer service, great student support, and if there are any issues, they'll help you out pretty quickly. So, all right. So I'm going to stop recording this because this is more of an instructional period.